हरिः ओं शं नो मित्रस्यं वरुणः शं नो भवत्वर्यमा शं न इन्द्रो बृहस्पतिः शं नो विष्णुरुक्रमः नमो ब्रह्मणे नमस्ते वायो त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि त्वामेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. So in the second level we have completed the first lesson. Now we are going to the questions and answer session. Generally most of in the European countries, at the end of the lecture, the people raise some questions and the master used to give the replies. It's a common practice. So the first question is how planets work on individual and higher planes. This is the very, very important question, frankly speaking. Unless we understand and have a clear idea about it, it is not so easy to understand the spiritual astrology, the branch. How planets work on individual and higher planes. So there are two planes, in the lower planes and the higher planes. All of you know very well. And on the individual level, how it works, how the planets work, and on the higher levels, how the planets work. Master has given a very simple answer here. The planets also have higher functions to do. These functions concern to the races on this earth, not individuals. The planets also have higher functions to do. Generally, what we think about astrology in general throughout the world is to read the horoscopes of the individuals and to know his future. And if you go a little beyond and we draw the horoscopes of the nations and we will try to predict something to the nations, how they will function, either any wars are there or how the relationship between the two countries and what are the countries going to flourish or suffer, all these things. Or some medical astrology or some weather forecast. We discussed about all these things many times. But here what Master is telling in a simple way, the planets also have higher functions to do. They also have higher functions to do. If we look at ourselves, we can live in two different ways. One is to living for ourselves, and number two is living with a goal in the life to serve the humanity, to work for the people, to work for the earth, to understand about ourselves, to understand the need of the humanity and what is the need of the hour. You see, even in us also, many of us will have two different approaches towards the life. One is towards ourselves, the personal life. One is towards the others. There are all these words, responsibility and service and charity, all these words come into the picture. In the same manner, planets also have higher purpose, higher functions. These functions concern to the races on this earth, not individuals. The higher functions are concerned about the races, not the individuals. In the evolution of races and nations, such things occur. They function in the evolution of the races and nations also. So this is very important. So we will discuss about it when we come to the Aquarian age. There Master explained in a very elaborate way, and I will explain there. They cannot be estimated by ordinary human understanding. The influences of the planets on the races and the nations is not so easy to the common man to understand. The forces of earth know how a race has to evolve. The forces of earth know how a race has to evolve and what to believe and what not to believe and how to take a direction. What are the forces of the earth? The forces of the earth know how a race has to evolve. So what are the forces of the earth? The guiding angel, you can also guide in guiding angels or the devas or the five elements. A lot of things are there. All these forces guides the earth. That's why in the meditations throughout the globe, they include earth also in the meditation. There are a lot of meditations are there. So not all the time meditating sun or moon or some other planet or the space or whatever it may be. Because we are the earthly beings, first of all we have to have a beautiful connection between the earth and ourselves. Because our evolution depends upon the evolution of our earth. We have to remember that. The human evolution depends upon the evolution of the earth, where he is living and where he was born. That's why we have to include earth also in the meditation. That is what Master explained in the 5-star meditations and the 5 meditations he has given. In the last meditations, if I remember well, he included earth also in the meditation. Right? Okay. So all these things are directed by the planets, not only to the individuals but also to the races and nations. So it is the will of the planetary forces of this earth that such steps should occur in the evolution of man. So it is the will of planetary forces of this earth. It's a beautiful sentence. Will of the planetary forces of this earth. Will of the planetary forces of this earth means earth also has its own program in evolution. Every planet, it will have its own program in its evolution. So earth also has to remember, work out its evolution, and our evolution follows according to the evolution of the earth. So it is the will of the planetary forces that of this earth that such steps should occur in the evolution of man. So it depends upon the evolution of the man, it depends upon the evolution of the earth. This is the thing you have to remember. This is the one question. The second one is, can you explain about the planetary intelligences? Then all the time he is using the planetary intelligences and the planetary forces. He asked, what are the planetary intelligences? It is a big subject. This is what Master explained. It is a very big subject. I can only hint one or two things now. What are the planetary intelligences? The Master said it is a very big subject. I will explain later, but I will explain a few things here. Just as we have our own personality, the total earth has its own personality. He is explaining in a simple way. Just as you have our own personality, earth is also having its own personality. Just as we have our mind, the total earth has its own mind. Just like we have our own mind, earth is also having its own mind. It is so simple. Just as we have the many forces in us working, forces that work for health and strength, forces which are working to make us understand things and read things, the psychological and the supra-psychological intelligences in us, all these things are working in the earth, total earth also. What are they? What Master is telling? Just as you have the many forces in us working, what are the many forces? There are a lot of many forces. The thinking is a force, looking is a force, listening is a force, digesting is a force, heartbeat is a force, the breathing is a force, blood circulation is a force, planning is a force, thinking is a force. All of these forces, you see, just like we have the forces, earth also having its own forces. Just as we have the many forces in us working, forces that work for health and strength, force which are working to make us understanding things and read things, the psychological and supra-psychological intelligences in us. We are having psychological and supra-psychological things in us. All these things are working in the total earth also. All these things are working in the total earth also. That means what we have to understand is the way we are working for our own purpose, we have to work for the earth also. The way we protect our health, we have to protect the health of the earth also. The way we clean our body, we have to clean the earth also. The way we try to think in a very positive way, we have to think about the earth also in a positive way, because we are living in it. We are born out of it. That's why nature creates all these things to the human and to the earth also. Unless all these forces are there, all the forces are not there on the earth, it is a danger to the earth and danger to the species living on this earth also. This is what you have to understand. Okay. Now they are working in the total solar system also, not only earth. All these forces, they are working in the total solar system also. Those forces are called planetary forces and planetary intelligences. Those forces which are working in the human being, on the earth, and in the solar system, they are called the planetary intelligences. They know how to direct the races of this earth, just as our intelligence knows how to direct the members in our family. How the intelligence of a human being works, human intelligence works to maintain his family. All these forces also works on the earth to maintain the earth and to maintain the planets also. Like that we have to understand the rest of the subject. Like that we have to understand the rest of the subject. That's why in my book, I did not remember whether I have written in my English book or not. I have explained very, very elaborate way in my Telugu book the individual family and the solar family. What is the relationship between the individual family and the solar family? Yes, I think I have written in my English book, Astrology, the Divine Science book. You please go through the initial chapters. There I explained the relationship between the human family and the solar family, and how they work together. I explained very well in that book. You please go through those pages. Once I already have sent you the book. You please go through in the beginning pages, and solar system and the family system, and the family and the solar family, all these things. Okay. Then the next question is, does Pluto influence all the persons and horoscope? Does Pluto influence all the persons and horoscopes? This is a very important question. And when I used to come in 95, when I came to Europe in 95, then people, they used to ask me whether Uranus and Neptune influence all the people or not. Now they are influencing all the people. Those who are born after 75, and you can find the influence much more of Uranus and Neptune. Before that also they had the influence on the people, but not on many. But people born after 75, and surely they will, these two planets work. Now the question is about Pluto, and as far as I am concerned, I did not see many horoscopes where Pluto influenced the people, because I did not go through those horoscopes. I have to see if I can find some in somebody's horoscope where Pluto is placed in a certain cardinal points or very close to the houses. Unless I come to that horoscope, I cannot explain to you with all my confidence. But now Pluto is also working in many people's horoscopes. So let us see what Master explained. Not in all horoscopes, but these lectures are 1984, 83 or something like that. So long back. Almost 83 means almost 40 years now. This is like that. So now things have changed. So we can understand with the background of the present scenario. Okay. Not in all horoscopes, but in the horoscopes where Pluto is on the important degrees of the houses, then only Pluto influences the person. Otherwise Pluto influences only nations and races. Unless the Pluto is placed in the important houses and very close to, and also very close degrees to that house degree also, then only it will work on the individuals. But generally it works on the nations and groups. That's the master is telling that. The influence upon individuals only indicate that the individuals are very public nature. He has an important role in the history of the nations. Otherwise, in all horoscopes, we need not consider Pluto. Unless the individual is working with the nations on a very high level or with high groups not only in the spiritual or in the political groups or in the business groups or in the national level of things, and in any department, if he is in a higher place, not working on the individual level, working on the group levels and national levels, and then definitely Pluto will work. Only if Pluto exists in one of the cardinal points, exactly the degrees, then only he will influence the individual horoscope. Otherwise, the individual is too little to be influenced, just as the man on the street is too little to be influenced separately by the government. There is the influence of the government on any one of us, but independently and separately there is no influence upon many of us. Master has given a beautiful example here. Government is here, Prime Minister and President or ministers and so many people are there. They will influence the whole nation. They will influence the whole nation and the affairs of the whole nation. And indirectly we will be also affected by the government, but directly we will not be affected. Indirectly we will be affected. But somebody is there on the higher position. Definitely the Prime Minister or the President, they will talk to them because they are the policy makers. So if I wanted to go to meet the Chief Minister, I will not get the appointment to meet him, even though I voted for him. But I will not get any appointment with the Prime Minister because I am working on my individual level. I am not the minister. I am not an officer on the higher level. So even though he is my President or Prime Minister, even though he was there with my vote, but it is not possible to meet him. Where he will meet the people who are working for the nation and the higher levels, the higher officers. This is the way Pluto also works. Pluto works not on the individuals but on the total humanity or the nation or the group, like that. Pluto indicate either very seriously good or very seriously bad in individual horoscopes. Of course, if the important degrees of that house do not fall upon Pluto, then definitely Pluto has no influence upon the individual horoscope. I know individual horoscopes where Pluto influenced them. Even Master is telling that unless they are the very important cardinal points, and then definitely the Pluto works also in individual level. Master said, I know one individual. So let us see what he is telling. For example, in our native place, there is a great magician who has been my friend since we are students. The 7th house in his horoscope fell exactly upon the degree of Pluto. The astrologer clearly advised him not to get married, but he got married against his advice. As a result of his wife died of some ununderstandable disease within 2 years. He remarried, but second wife killed herself with kerosene and fire, and the cause was not known by anyone. Owing to this, he did not want to get married. That time, but some 5 years later, he got attached to a nurse who was unmarried. The moment he planned and decided to marry her, her brother, who was a police officer, suddenly appeared on the scene. He did not like the idea of them getting married, so he sent my friend behind bars in the police station for 3 nights and 3 days, and thus the marriage couldn't materialize. He tried getting married 7 times. He has still not succeeded in getting a wife. Therefore, the horoscope get influenced only if exactly the 7th house falls on the degree of Pluto. Master has given an example of his one of his friends. He is having the Pluto on exact 7th house degree. You know, 7th house is the house of partnerships and marriages, whatever it may be. Any malefic planet like Mars or Saturn or Uranus or Pluto are there on the 7th house, very close to the degrees, in generally there must be some problems with the marriage, either separation or the quarrels or no marriage or divorce or fights, anything, unless this particular planet have the influence of a positive influence and a benefic influence of Jupiter or Venus, something like that, especially the Jupiter. What happened with this boy, with this man? He married first time, wife died. He married for the second time, the wife committed suicide. And even the astrologer advised him, don't go for marriage. But he tried his luck. Two wives died. Third time he wanted to marry a nurse. The nurse brother is a police officer, and he didn't like this marriage. That's why, with some reason, the police officer put this man in jail. And after that, he was never successful in his marriage in his life, because of the Pluto in the 7th house. Master has given an example. Now, I am in a trouble personally. One girl who is having Pluto in her 7th house, her parents are pursuing, searching the boys for this girl, and they have sent me her horoscope. Horoscope is very good, but Pluto is on the 7th house. What to do? 7th house Lord is good, and other horoscope is very good, and this girl is a highly educated girl and a very nice girl and a very orthodox family. So what to do? And they are trying for last 2 or 3 years or whatever it may be, and nothing is working out. Now they are trying and I am also trying for it. But you can ask me one question. When you know the example given by the master in the book, why are you not telling this caution to the parents of this girl? See, it's a very big problem to the astrologer. The girl is very young, having 7th house Pluto. Other aspects are there, aspecting Pluto. There's a very good aspect of Jupiter is there. And that's how, so I prayed the master. So send this girl a very good boy, and with good compatibility of the planets. Since Jupiter is very strong in this girl's horoscope and having good aspect with the Pluto, so that should work in a positive way. Why I am telling you this example is, it is not so easy with predictive astrology. Sometimes we cannot stop certain things. Even in our life also we cannot stop certain things, even though we know. But if it is a yogi, for example, if he knows exactly what it is, what is the meaning of it, what is the purpose of it, he stops just like that. He never think about it. Marriage is not good in his life. If he knows about it, if he looks at his horoscope and he is so young, or if he is advised by somebody, or in your horoscope marriage is not such a comfortable thing, and simply he throw out the thought of getting the marriage, and he just forget about it, and he just focus on the life. It is not possible to the ordinary human beings. The purpose of the spiritual astrology is understand about ourselves and the planetary influences, and when we find certain things like this, when we know these things will create a lot of problems in our life and we will not be successful in that particular field, it is always better to leave that and try the best one where you get the influence of the positive planets in your horoscope. So this is the 12th lesson, the Pluto. There is only one last question is left in this lesson. That is, can you please explain about zodiacal periods? This is what was one of the brothers asked this question. I will complete this in the next lesson and then go to the second lesson in the second level. Okay. Swasti prajabhya paripalayantam nyayena margena mahim mahishaha Brahmanebhya somastu nityam loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.